In 2012, Sheffield set up a Fairness Commission, which reported in 2013. So we see 2 years later, the city is setting up a Environmental Commission. So the question I simply ask is, Sheffield, can it be both more equal and more sustainable? Now, I would say that most people in the room would probably agree that, yes, that's something we would agree with and something we would desire. But I'm suggesting that a greener city is not inevitably a fairer city. And a fairer city is not automatically a greener city. And that link is one that I want to bring to your attention. I would argue that disjuncture arises firstly from pressing and pragmatic needs to prioritise spending and the allocation of limited resources. And secondly, it comes from the absence of a common set of values to give expression to our future desires and aspirations. So does the Fairness Commission offer us some framework to operate within? The Fairness Commission's work's been taken on by a Fair City campaign, and that's trying to get us to consider 10 principles of fairness within the city. The first of those is those in greatest need should take priority. The second is that those with most resources should make the biggest contribution. The third is the commitment to fairness must be a long-term one. The commitment to fairness must be city-wide. Prevention is better than cure. As well as acting fairly, it is necessary also to be seen to act in a fair way. It should be ensured that all citizens have a voice, so there's a need to campaign for fairness in the city. Fairness must be a balance between different groups, communities and generations in the city. And a commitment to fairness must be demonstrated and monitored. So that was the 10 principles that came out of the Fairness Commission, which this city has adopted. And I am part of the campaign as a champion representing those principles. But why should those 10 principles be so difficult and not necessarily lead to a greener city? Well, firstly, as well as a city of inequalities, we're a city of diversity, and increasingly one of diversity, where different groups, different communities and different generations do not necessarily place the same value on or seek the same benefits from a greener or more environmentally friendly actions. Secondly, while technical solutions might be advanced to address many environmental problems, they often require an implementation that demands trade-offs. Trade-offs between short-term and long-term gains, trade-offs between clear economic outcomes and environmental outcomes. Thirdly, we don't have perfect information. We don't have perfectly rational decision-making. We don't have perfect political processes. Consequently, dominant interests, dominant mindsets and dominant values can prevent more innovative and even small-scale change. Therefore, I'm asking the Environmental Commission to formulate a response to these challenges by seeking a more clear response to how greater environmental justice might be achieved in the city. This is something the Newcastle Fairness Commission looked at quite extensively, so there is a precedent for that work. The environmental justice movement has its roots in North America, where very often the poorest and the weakest in society suffered most from environmental degradation arising from developments that were supposedly there to benefit them. This movement has now increasingly recognised the global patterns of economic environmental change, for example, severe air and water pollution arising from cheap manufacturing processes in rapidly developing cities. So what might environmental justice look like? We might see energy projects for those who can afford them least. For example, retrofitting of households experiencing either child poverty or fuel poverty. We might see food projects that address the growing number and growing use of food banks in this city, and growing health and long-term illness around diseases such as obesity. Transportation projects that prioritise addressing premature mortality arises from air pollution in the marginalised neighbourhoods of our city. Projects that engage with and shape the values of the city's young and future generations. So can Sheffield be greener and fairer? Yes, but only if we want it to be. And we want it enough. The environmental justice movement talks about this combining the social with the environmental justice as resolving a creative tension. It's a challenge I'd like to put to the Environmental Commission. Thank you.